Well, welcome to another episode of Horror of the Worlds. I'm Curtis Gerhart.
I'm Stephen Miller.
And today we are...
There's no radio at all. Not even with the bombing plane that's coming over. All radio is dead.
It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. I'm going to make you one of the five
And today we are talking about H.P. Lovecraft. So love him or hate him, I mean, he is beloved and hated at the same time.
I feel like this is one of those fine moments where we need to separate the art from the artist, at least a little bit.
I agree.
Until we get to know the person, who he was.
Because that's like one of the things. Like, he is really known for being a racist, you know, a he was xenophobic and also against women or women rights and all that stuff as well.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that was a hard thing to do. A lot of people used pen names and shit like that just because women back then seemed to get a lot of shit. So a lot of women used different names just to get their shit published back then. But it feels like it's also forgotten that by the time he got older and got back home, he surrounded himself, which was weird, with people already weird, but with people that didn't think that way anymore. So he was slowly like undoing that negativity that he had carried throughout his life. But once it's in writing, good fucking luck shaking that shit. Cause
that's the thing. Like, it's presented in his stories.
Yeah, I mean, his cat had quite a racist name.
Well, I guess before we get into the depth of who he is, like a little backstory on like where he's from and stuff. I want to say it was he was born and raised in Providence, New England.
Yes.
Born August 20th in 1890, and he did pass away at the age of 46 from intestinal cancer on March 15th, 1937. So racism was still a thing, even though it was in the North.
Even the racists were telling him to calm the fuck down, bro.
Yeah.
You're making us look crazy.
All right. So like his father ended up dying when he was a young age from syphilis.
Right.
So he was raised by his mother, which ended up coddling him. Like, did not let him go outside.
In a strange way at that, because even he says he loved his mother deeply, but she didn't love him the way that he
needed it.
He needed that physical sign of affection, and she did not kiss him or hug him. They'd hold hands every once in a while when they were going for walks outside, but when neighbors would ask, well, where's your son? She'd say something like, he's so ugly that he's afraid to come outside.
Yeah.
Like, love.
Yeah, so like
it's weird.
I think that's like where some of his like when he ended up moving out to like New York and stuff. I think with his I don't remember if he was married, if he got married at the time, or if I think he ended up getting married and moving out to New York with his wife at that time.
Yes,
because she was the one that actually helped push him to write more books, because she believed in his work, which his work was great.
Yeah.
Like some of his earlier work, that one of the movies that we're talking about is like Herbert West, Reanimator.
Yeah. And that character comes up in a lot of other movies that are just based off of H.P. Lovecraft. I mean, The Reanimator was one of the hardest, outstanding pieces he did.
Yeah. So like he did like when he moved to New York, he was quickly became a racist. You know, he started hating interracial couples. He started hating pretty much anyone that wasn't white. But at the same time, though, I not trying to justify his beliefs or any of that stuff. Right. But I feel like I could kind of understand, since he didn't really get that kind of loving and accepting nature from his parent, like his mom or even his aunts or any of that stuff, and then being locked in his own head, creating these stories. And
he lived in an area that was much smaller. And then when you move to a city where literally everybody's just looking out for themselves. The city's alive. Yeah. You're lonely and still surrounded by people. That's what being a city folk is all about.
Just being lost in your head and it just festering and festering. Like, it's not going to get better.
Right.
Like, he ended up getting a little bit better when he moved back to Providence. And like you were saying, he found more people to talk to, and he kind of corrected his ways in a sense.
But it didn't show in his writings, so it's really hard to say that he became a different person. Like, what he wrote in tabloids and shit like that were very hateful.
Oh yeah.
And he was surrounded by what he saw as hate, so he just kind of projected that. But with even the hate being in his writings, he did some really good stories.
He did a lot of really great stories.
Really good, yeah.
And honestly, I give a lot of credit to a lot of other writers that have made the movies that are based off of him, because some of the stories, like one of the movies that we're going to be talking about is Dagon. That's a very short story, and they made a movie off of that short story, like, and they made it so much huger than it was.
Yeah, his goal was to make up new words and write about things that you couldn't possibly fathom. So when it comes to the depiction of Cthulhu, there's no wrong depiction. Like, he didn't really put a huge amount of display. He kind of kept it vague, and you hit those points and you can build it off and make it the size of Godzilla or with wings or whatever the fuck you want.
He, like, Cthulhu is just one of the old ones.
Yeah,
I want to say like that, along with I think there were 3 other gods,
a few reoccurring ones,
and then all the subsidiary, like all the lesser gods that were more prevalent in his stories.
Seemed to have a fear of the deep water, because that was the one that he wrote a lot about.
Understandable. I mean, the water is fucking scary.
No, I got a bit of a fucking problem with it.
Right? But that's like one of the things. Like when I think of H.P. Lovecraft, I honestly think of always like tentacles and all that stuff. I think of Cthulhu or Cthulhu. Like there's really never like a proper way. I think he had a proper way of saying it, but no one says it.
Yeah, he had to describe how to say it because everybody said it. Cthulhu.
Yeah. Which I can't remember
It was supposed to have like a click in it, like a Cthulhu or some shit like that.
Cthulhu.
You were supposed to say it with the tongue pressed to the back of your teeth. That's the hard way to describe it.
So many of his other
when you had to communicate through writing, that's a difficult way to get somebody to pronounce something properly.
And I think that's like one of the reasons why some of the movies that, like, when they say H.P. Lovecraft's name on it, like I still don't think that it's like H.P. Lovecraft. Just like I said, because I always think of tentacles and the creepy oceanic based monsters.
Yeah, so when they say like Color Out of Space, it's like
I still don't think about it.
Yeah,
even with Reanimator, like I think of Dogma. I think of other movies that are based off of or influenced off of HP.
Yeah,
not in one of his stories. Dagon.
Yeah, Dogma. You're gonna say that every time too.
Yeah,
I do that shit.
But that's also one of the things. Like pretty much all of his all of his books and short stories, are people that start off mad. Like they're not mad as in angry, but they start off crazy, and they don't get better. They just end up staying crazy and just developing more madness.
It's like
there's no happy ending to like any of his stories or those stories that I've read through these movies that we're going to talk about. But I guess we could probably jump into our first movie, right?
Sure.
Our first movie is Reanimator. Came out in 1985, directed by Stuart Gordon.
One of my favorites. I like a lot of the fact that they had to build everything. They had a little bit of humor. It was very dark humor, but it was humor nonetheless. And there's something about the severed head scene really stood out to me.
Which, that's the thing.
Like, more than one reason.
That's not even in the book at all. Is the whole the head? I want to say that they ended up getting that from The Brain That Wouldn't Die.
Oh, okay. Stuff.
Which, if you actually want to watch it, and I recommend watching it this way, it's on YouTube currently. Whereas you should be watching this. But it's Mystery Science Theater 3000 does an episode on The Brain That Wouldn't Die. Yeah. It's a pretty good episode. It's actually a really fun movie as well. It's a good old timey fun movie. Which it oddly enough, in a weird way, reminds me of Henenlotter's Frankenhooker.
Oh yeah,
where there's just like an accident and the guy just wants to bring back his girlfriend and stuff.
It's pure entertainment. Yeah,
but and that's kind of like one of the great things about like the book. Herbert West was that typical, like almost that perfect, not that German. You know, like he had the blue eyes, blonde hair, and he was stuck in his own ways. Like he was very I don't want to say stoic in a way, like in the book. We're not talking about the movie that Jeffrey Combs plays as Herbert West, but you're seeing it through
the writer's eyes. It's almost like
pretty much the writer's eyes.
It's done in like a journal format, so you're hearing the day-to-day description that they're doing during their work, or what happened that day during their work.
So if you want to kind of put it into like the movies perspective, like you're seeing it through Dan Kane's eyes, which is like the love interest of the whole story, which was no real love interest in the story itself.
Right.
And there are parts
science.
that's pretty much it. Like Herbert West just wanted to create the perfect chemical, the perfect reanimating agent, and that's pretty much it. Like the guy ends up falling in love with him, like not so much with him, but just his determination to actually get it correct, which you do see a lot. Like Jeffrey Combs is like, granted, he's amazing in every movie I've seen him in. Like he's actually in one of my.
He's in a lot of H.P. Lovecraft's movies, at least the ones that were made in the '80s and shit.
That's the thing with like Stuart Gordon. Like he is, he directed a lot of H.P. Lovecraft movies, and he had his own little like clique for the most part when it came to like actors. He had like Barbara Crampton and Jeffrey Combs in almost every one of his movies that was H.P. Lovecraft. I was gonna say Dogma again, but it's not Dagon at all. But
it was From Beyond. I know that both of them were in that one.
Castle Freak as well.
Yeah, and the love relationship between the work and the worker was vastly different. If you were going into it thinking the same reaction from boss to worker, from Reanimator to From Beyond, no, it's more like whipping boy status.
Well, that's like one of the things too, is like almost bringing up like Stuart Gordon, like how he directed a lot of these. Like when I think of Stuart Gordon, I think of H.P. Lovecraft movies. I do think of Reanimator, much like I feel like you almost can't say H.P. Lovecraft without saying Stuart Gordon. Almost the same thing with Mick Garris and Stephen King, because Mick Garris has directed, I think, a good 4 or 5 Stephen King movies, and he even did like I think it was a made-for-TV show or series of like The Shining and stuff that barely anyone's seen. Yeah. But I honestly feel like those two directors, Mick Garris and Stuart Gordon, they are known for certain movies, like certain director, like just.
They got mad amount of credit for the way they brought it to life, because the depictions in the books and stories they're not done the justice that they give them to on the screen. Like it's almost Cronenbergian, like very, very off the wall weirdness going on. This is almost a zombie movie in a way, only they still had some mental faculties about them.
No, I completely agree on that one. Well, they didn't really have like mental faculty. Like they didn't have that until like later on when the agent started getting better. So I guess according to IMDb, their synopsis of the movie: after an odd new medical student arrives on campus, a dedicated local and his girlfriend become involved in a bizarre experiments centering around the reanimation of dead tissue. Like that is purely it. Yeah. Like it is. I feel like if you're into horror movies, this is a must watch.
Oh yeah, it's very off the wall, and it kind of snowballs quickly. Like
it is a lot of like nonstop action.
I can't think of one of these movies that we're talking about today that like it feels like that's an H.P. Lovecraft thing. He throws you into the shit quick, and it feels like you're sucked in almost immediately.
No, I agree. Like I mean, like even talking about like some of the comedy, like I freaking love the whole. Again, I feel like I'm the one that ends up hating animals on this damn thing because of how funny like some of the scenes are. Like I am an animal lover, but like when the cat dies, he ends up leaving a note, or Herbert West leaves a note like "Cat's dead, details later." It's just so freaking random. That, and when he reanimates the cat for the first time in the basement.
Oh yeah,
and stuff. Oh, yeah, that whole scene is just so bonkers, and it's fucking cartoonish. Like
it is. It's really off the wall.
I almost don't want to ruin this movie that much. I mean,
Well,
granted, I don't think you could really ruin this movie, even if you like.
You could have read the book, and it feels like you still wouldn't see what the fuck's coming in the movie. I mean,
No, like that's the thing. The book is so like vastly different too, because I think it was 4 or 5 different like segments
Yeah.
and stuff.
And then the Bride of Reanimator.
Yeah, in which I want to say like one of the last books of the Herbert West journey is where he ends up going to the Great War, if I'm not mistaken, the Grand War, like the whole World War One side of it, just to actually find fresh corpses and stuff. And I want to say that's the beginning of the Bride of Reanimator, is like when they're actually in a war, trying to help getting that reanimating agent correct.
Right.
But yeah, this is another movie. I want to say it's streaming on Tubi currently. Shudder has. I think it's just a Joe Bob segments right now for Reanimator, which will actually help you out if you end up watching this movie and being confused on why does the doctor have a telepathic, or like is it not telepathic but like psychic powers and stuff, like why he could control things and control these
tie
bodies.
in a lot of the movie to book translation going on.
And that's the thing, like there is no explanation for it. Joe Bob calls it out for it. But you can watch his segments on it and time everything up together. It makes it so much better. Granted, this movie doesn't need to be any better than it already is, but it does. It definitely helps.
Absolutely.
But going from that one, like just a year later, we go into another Stuart Gordon directed movie, From Beyond, that came out in '86.
From Beyond, once again, the scientist trying to get his machines to work, but he this time, instead of the head scientist absolutely loving this guy's work, is frustrated with his inability with this whole operation. And I mean,
which out of these two,
Jeffrey Combs' character is
with him with his asparagus dog dick on his forehead later on.
Yeah, oh my god, yeah. This had a lot of
the practical effects in this movie is so amazing. Like this is one thing that I feel like a lot of movies are missing nowadays, is this form of practical effects where they're slimy, they're gritty, they're nasty,
they're oddly sexual.
This is a highly sexual movie.
Very sexual movie.
Because it's all based off of like the pineal gland, which is pretty much the thing that makes you see things when you sleep.
Yeah.
Instead of bringing everything to life.
Well, watching it kind of reminded me of Martyrs a little bit, with the way they were trying to
I could see Martyrs.
the brain to pain and pleasure thing.
And that's this movie is really close to the same on the book, where pretty much this movie picks up a little bit after where the book ends off, which is really great. You have the bad scientist. Actually, I think I wrote down what the synopsis of this movie is. A group of scientists have developed the Resonator, a machine which allows whoever is within the range to see beyond normal perceptible reality. But when the experiment succeeds, they are immediately attacked by terrible life forms. Through these experiments and being within this field, it enlarges their pineal gland and gives you a dog dick out of the forehead.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a Hellraiser with a little bit more weird with the depiction going on. Yeah, violent in its own way, but not quite as
like so much of this kind of reminds me of
realistic flesh and blood kind of body gore.
Like I'm not too sure if you've seen the movie or whoever's watching this, which you should watch that movie as well, is Society. I think came out in 88 or 89. But this reminds me of like Shunting so much, just because of like how gooey and all this stuff.
Everything's
and just, like,
covered in slime.
Yeah. Oh gosh, man! Like this is another crazy, almost balls to the wall. Like it doesn't really stop. Like some of the computer graphics, like effects on this movie is extremely dated, but it doesn't really take away from it because it does make up for it in the practical effects.
The practical effect, they did a lot of body makeup and shit like that for it, and it made it gory and goopy.
That's the thing. Like if you're uncomfortable with sexual nature or any of that kind of stuff, this movie is definitely not for you.
Which is weird. Most horror movies have nothing but that involved with it. But
some people are just like, like I've been seeing all over Twix where it's like, if you like Art the Clown or the Terrifier movies, you're sick and demented. I'm like, And
yeah.
like, I'm okay with that.
The slasher
know,
movies are great, but that's like what the basis is. It's
well, you had
blood and sex and violence.
Was like Scream 5, Jenna Ortega's character. Like, oh, I like horror movies, but I like elevated horror movies. Like that's a whole like split. So it seems like with nowadays is people want to see Midsummer. Yeah, like if it's not A24, it's shit. And I was like,
fuck you.
No, like pay attention to his fucking grandfather is what ushered Ari Aster into these great movies that he does make.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just one of quite a few different directors that made really good movies. But give me some good gooey practical effects, some, pointless tits, freaking blood for no damn reason.
Yeah, I mean, bottom line, it's entertainment, right? Either you've seen something you've never saw before, or you're going to laugh your ass off at the way they try to describe this bullshit. And
I think that's what these movies work for me is like, these are things I will never see in real life. Unless I'm tripped up on some really bad acid and I'm already in a down mood, there's no fucking way I am seeing a Reanimator come to life. This movie, Dagon come to life. I'm not seeing these movies come to life. I could see cults come to life.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's
which makes them, I guess, more scary in a way. But I mean, I'm not going to see a fucking Jason Voorhees coming out of a lake.
Well, I mean, it does make it. If
I do, I'll willingly die right there.
More terrifying. Yeah.
But that's the thing. I don't think I'm as much of a fighter as I am, and I'm not. If I see something like that, I've seen enough horror movies. I'm not.
Exactly. I take notes. If it happens, get the fuck out.
Yeah. If a doll comes to life, I might just let it kill me because I don't feel like fucking fighting. I'm way too lazy for this shit. Right. But yeah, like honestly, like I think that's another one of the things too is stories, or like the actual story of these movies. Like when we talk a lot about like 80s movies and what makes them so enjoyable is the stories are flawed. They did rely on heavy effects and everything, like beautiful effects. The story was always kind of came last. Even sometimes, like it did come last. Sometimes it was just a movie poster, and it's like, all right, make a movie off this movie poster.
Yeah, but most importantly, remember that it was written first, so that it was trying to pry your imagination, and what you are now relying on with a movie is somebody else's imagination depicting what you thought you read. So when you watch something like Color Out of Space, try to describe a color nobody's ever seen before. Good fucking luck.
I think that's like one of the things is, as movies have evolved, like especially like nowadays, like the stories have become a little. You have to nitpick to make these stories bad. Like some don't make sense, but I mean compared to like 80s standards for horror movies, horror movies are flawed in this story wise compared to like they are nowadays. The special effects went out the window, but the stories got better.
Right.
Give me a shitty story and some good blood. I'm happy.
I'm all about it.
And
a good movie poster to collect.
Yeah. Like, that's a great thing too. I think like Mondo and there's quite a few other companies that are actually remaking some movie posters, and they do phenomenal jobs on bringing back some original, like from the original artwork, making it new and updated and just amazingly beautiful.
Well, that's what I enjoyed at Crypticon was seeing the new takes on all of the posters and maybe even scenes that you forgot about being put into a poster form.
Even like some of the local independent movie theaters here, like where they have some of the local artists make up a poster for whatever horror movie is showing. That's one thing I love is like they're not just original posters that you saw back in name of fucking year.
Right.
Like they are new, updated, and it's just as beautiful as the movie is.
Yep.
They're done out of love. At least I hope they're made out of love. If any of those artists are ever watching this, I hope there's love in it.
Yeah, you put too much time for it not to be.
Shoot, let's go and jump in the future, and we'll jump back to another random movie. Is Underwater.
Oh God, I love
that. You shine a little bit.
Yeah. So Underwater.
Hold on. Before, all right, this is a spoiler alert. If you saw Underwater that we're just talking about, this is a H.P. Lovecraft movie. This movie is not showcased as one.
It feels like it kind of is, but you have to get almost halfway into it to realize how much of it is. It's Lovecraftian, but the whole thing is you're deep underwater. You're exploring, I want to say it's Mariana's Trench, and these people have set up a base for you to be able to survive in. And, of course, there's plenty of viewing windows because what kind of deep water pressure doesn't need a window? So the whole movie starts with Kristen Stewart doing her job. She is, I want to say, she is an engineer on this platform.
Like she's supposed to be Sigourney Weaver's character from The Alien.
Yes,
like,
she is relatable, very relatable.
I think that was the whole point. Like this movie is Alien but underwater.
Right. All of a sudden, there is a high pressure loss, and parts of the structure starts to fail, and that's when things pick up fast. I mean, we're not even 5 minutes into the movie, and shit is falling the fuck apart, and you're wondering why.
Like that is one thing that is good about this movie is it doesn't really like it is pretty quick.
Yeah,
it doesn't really stop. It doesn't really like when it slows down.
Full throttle the whole fucking time. Even when you're picking up characters along the way, it feels like they have something to keep you watching or entertained, and it keeps your mind running.
I think that's like one of the things that this movie did right is you start off with a very limited amount of characters and you learn those characters.
Yeah.
And as the story progresses, they pick up new characters.
Right.
And stuff, and then you learn who they are. Like, and you're not just like learning 10 people at once with some of these movies. Like
right.
You're learning each one individually at its own pace.
The two people in this that stand out the most to me were Kristen Stewart, because first of all, this is a very different role that I've seen her in. I was actually very entertained with it. And T.J. Miller, who was the light comic relief. He is not doing his typical raunch comedy thing. It's more like all of them realize how much emotional distress they're experiencing at this moment, watching everybody die, but trying to
he was
keep
making
their mindset on surviving.
He was keeping the tension kind of light a little bit. Like he was just trying to break the tension by poking jokes, making fun and stuff. Like as out of place.
6 miles deep into water, there's not much hope going on here, man.
That's one thing. Like I do like his character. I do like how comedic he is, but he does stand out.
Yeah,
because everyone else is pretty serious on this. The basic stereotypes when it comes to any all the tropes, and he is kind of like that stoner trope, but he's a funny stoner.
Oh yeah,
he's not a stoner.
And
but
in this one, he is to be in this situation. Every one of these people are portrayed as highly intellectual people.
Yeah,
with Kristen Stewart being the most utilized character because of her mechanical engineering with all of this and how it works, where they need to go, where they need to be. She is definitely the lead, and the further and further down into the structure they go, they have to get deeper to get to the escape pods. The only escape pods that are left to be known of, the nearest ones are even deeper. So they have to go, like, I want to say they end up like 7 miles underwater, which is fucking huge amounts of pressure. And they have these special suits that kind of remind me of, I can't remember the game, BioShock, Big Daddy from BioShock.
Yeah, BioShock, yeah.
So they kind of have these suits that help them get through the water. So when the area breaks down, they put on these suits and they have to go from one end of the floor to the other. And that's when you start seeing what the fuck might have happened here.
That's when the H.P. Lovecraftian kind of comes out of play, because this isn't a Lovecraft movie, this isn't off of one of his books. Like this is what this podcast is about. This is like a perfect thing. Is yes, these movies that we're like Reanimator, Dagon is based off of original work from H.P. Lovecraft. This is influenced off of the movies and his work.
They
his
made
books.
these little spawns look like Gilman from Creature of the Black Lagoon.
I disagree, but we can move on.
They had the fact is they had well, their faces were definitely different, but they had the hands and arms like you'd expect from some kind of weird creature underwater.
They almost completely different, but they almost remind me of like the weird eel-looking creatures from Beyond.
Fucking mouth, right? Because
I think it was like
it was weird as fuck looking, but the way that they shot it was they kept the water murky because, of course, you're schlepping across the floor. You're kicking up all this dirt. You can't see shit. So you don't get a clear shot of anything till the very end. And you find out exactly what broke this structure in the first place. And what you find out later on is they had drilled deep and found I want to say a warm pocket of air. And what they released was a gigantic fucking sea monster that is spawning these smaller creatures out of its pores and pretty much sending out a frontal attack to take out this station that's disturbed their
obviously the station, like
their homeostasis.
It woke up and it is, I think what the plan was supposed to be like to end the world again. Like this is like one of the old ones. Like that's like where the whole H.P. Lovecraftian comes out, where this is one of the original monsters that
Bottom
is going to destroy.
Yeah. Favorite depiction of Cthulhu that I've seen so far. This thing ended up what is the if you have a fear of gigantic existence, this motherfucker, the way they shot this made everything feel insignificant and small.
Yeah.
It was terrifying. And you didn't get that Godzilla feel where it's like, how is he standing in the ocean? No, this motherfucker's on the ocean floor sending out these little creatures to kick your ass.
It's like because he can.
Because he can. Because now you fucked with my sleep, I'm going to fuck with your life. And that's pretty much like the whole build of the movie. I mean, things pick up quick from there too. I mean, you still see this for another half hour.
We have a lot in common with that. You know, because like work gets in the way of my sleep, and I become an asshole at times. You know, I mean, that's what happens with work. You fuck with my sleep. No, I'm just kidding.
But these guys are the whole thing is a survival fight, and you're fighting things that you couldn't possibly manage with limited amount of oxygen. This is like. It kind of reminded me of Gravity in a way, where you're limited with your airspace and what you can do, and you need to make a decision fucking now, because with the damage that was done to the ship, it's just hard pressed. High Octane, first 5 minutes of the movie just takes the fuck off and doesn't. It will leave you the fuck behind. Do not walk away. Pause this shit every time you have to get up to refill your popcorn.
That's actually solid advice.
Yeah,
on this movie.
Like, you will miss important shit.
That, or just step away and you don't have to pause it when they started going the slow-mo fucking shots. That one thing that I really dislike about this movie is just, I know those little slow motion bullet time moments are supposed to be making this story more intense, and this action just like, but it's like, it does not do that for me. It's just like, all right, this would have been a little bit better. Just like fucking throw a splash on the screen and just move on. Like, you don't need to take a minute to show Kristen Stewart falling on her ass from an explosion.
I felt like it was appropriate. I liked it because it felt like it played with your heart rhythm a little bit. Like, it really fucked with you. It was almost like a brief break from what the fuck is going on, because you're sitting there going, dude, get to somewhere where you can survive the whole time you're rooting for them. And
I think that's where TJ Miller kind of comes in, is like he was that relief for that scene, but also for us that were watching it, like where it's like, all right, I need time to breathe, but I can't breathe because I'm fucking laughing at what TJ just said.
Yeah, right,
you know, like,
you're gonna miss something.
And that's because I want to say, like, one of the reasons like this movie did not take off, like, it is a great movie, but it came out in 2020, if I'm not mistaken. In 2020. So I mean, this is at the time pandemic and stuff. So this movie just kind of unfortunately fell by the wayside, like one of the kind of forgotten movies.
It felt like they even left it with a lack of closure, because the way it ends is with tabloid postings, and you're left to assume what you read. And it felt like that if they kept going with what they posted, you were going to get a second fucking movie out of this. Because with the final scene, you don't know what for sure happened.
But that's the thing, you can't do a second movie with this one, because next thing that they're attacking is the land. And you can't do Underwater 2 on the land. Nope. It would have to be like Underwater Cthulhu Attacks or some shit like that. But like,
the way it ended, I was highly satisfied with it overall. From beginning to end, I 100% enjoyed it. I went in watching it with absolutely no description, and I was pleasantly surprised with all of it.
Actually, one thing like I will kind of say too, that I was pleasantly surprised, because a lot of times when they do like underwater suits or space outfits, whatever, usually like the heads get bigger, or just like the body seems disproportionate. The bodies actually felt correct when they put on these outfits. Like, they just didn't feel oddly placed, because I don't remember if the outfits were practical and the helmets were computer graphics or not, but
well, they played with the helmets often enough to make it feel like it was real. I mean,
I'm saying like some scenes probably wore like the physical helmet, but I think like when they were talking and stuff, like this movie, I don't know what I'm trying to say is like the outfits actually seemed proportionate. It didn't really it seemed like legit.
The overall setup of the movie was solid. I mean, and like I said, I immediately thought BioShock when I saw those, because they had the little tanks on the shoulders and shit like that, and it looked like they were getting ready for war underwater. Yeah.
I know they could have almost gotten away with just saying this was a BioShock movie.
Almost.
Like they could have easily just said that, taken the Cthulhu out of the ending and just said it was just BioShock. And I think some of us probably would have been. This movie probably would have gotten a little bit bigger because it would have fallen over into the video game community.
I feel like it could have been easily because the way that they made Alien into a video game and shit like that. I feel like this would have closely resembled some of that shit. The whole gather your.
I also want to say though, a lot of the earlier Alien games were just cash grabs from Fox. Yeah. But they did get better. They actually got more creepy. You actually learned how some of the aliens actually walked and maneuvered and stuff that you don't. All right, we're not talking about Alien. As much as I keep on bringing that up because it's like I said, I feel like that's almost like a spot on. Is underwater is Alien but underwater.
Yep, Cthulhu, big Cthulhu alien kind of setup. Yep.
We're gonna
only less happiness. I liked it.
I think that's all right. So yeah, that's another thing. Like again, a lot of H.P. Lovecraft movies. And even this one, there's no happiness at the end.
I feel like
not really.
Once again, not trying to spoil anything, but yeah, it carries a bleak tone throughout the whole motherfucker.
Yeah, like there is so many times like where there are like no win situations, like where it's just like you're like a version of happiness is not what you were hoping was going to be a happy ending.
But overall, when you think about it, go ahead and try to think this story out for yourself. How happy of an ending could you possibly make for one? I mean, you digging into fantasy, already, but if this was real, there'd be no hope, man. Godzilla wouldn't leave survivors. This motherfucker sure as hell wouldn't.
No, like something that big underwater, yeah, we're... Like Russia's not an issue. Yeah. All these other countries are not the issue. Like, hopefully we band together.
Yeah. Yep. That's pretty much it.
Don't want to get into politics because that is like a perfect segue into Dagon, directed by Stuart Gordon, came out in 2001.
Town of Fish people.
Yeah.
Fucking shit was weird. This one once again also picks up with a bit of action right out the gate. I mean, first 10 seconds, nudity. And then the rest of it kicks off with
is there
disaster.
Nudity that early on?
I want to feel like it was, but I could have blinked.
I don't remember. Oddly enough, I don't remember the nudity in this movie.
I remember some action happening between the couple, and then the motherfucker, she gets mad at him trying to go straight into Stock's work after that, and she's like, fuck your work, and then she hucks the damn computer overboard, which in the, what was it? This was in early 90s, late 80s?
No, this movie came out in 2001.
That was 2001?
Yes.
Well, they were using a Stone Age ass computer.
Well,
I mean, it had to be a laptop, right?
It was a laptop.
It was definitely had to be a laptop. But this motherfucker sank like a fucking brick because she hucked that motherfucker overboard and said, pay attention to me. And after that, shit went sideways quick. It felt like disaster kicked off the movie yet again.
Synopsis of the movie is Paul Marsh is yachting on the Spanish coast with three companions when a freak storm causes their boat to founder on the rocks.
It sounded super douchey. Yachting.
Yes. Which that is really true to the book.
Yeah.
Like so far, like this movie, like again, very short. The book is over within the first 15 minutes of the movie.
Technology update, but other than that, it follows the book.
All right. Paul goes to the nearby village to get assistance, as two of his friends have been trapped in the boat's wreckage. He notices that the locals seem odd, and their behavior grows increasingly strange when Paul begins seeing a mermaid who has appeared in his nightmares. Dreams. He realizes that the fearful world of his dreams is now a reality.
Yeah, can't think of H.P. Lovecraft and not think of tentacles, and this is a prime example.
This is that movie that like this is like what some of actually like I want to say the book is like some of the very early sightings of when H.P. started doing his what I think of Lovecraft. You know, the whole mystical ocean, the tentacles, like
this is the
weird
first one
creatures.
The reference of them being gods and the way that they're being treated like gods. This is the only one that I've seen that handles it exactly like that. Like the chain of command of Cthulhu and his surrounding gods and shit are a part of it, and it's fucking weird, man. I'm still trying to figure out. I think I missed the part on how these people became to look the way they did. Like sacrifice got them there. Or some shit
all right,
like
so
that.
and with the movie, like kind of how they became overran by these fish people, where they were a fishing. This town was a fishing town because it is on the shore, of course. And then I want to say there was a relic with another creature. I can't remember the breed. I am not saying my tagline. Came ashore and stuff, and they started praising the new god and stuff. Like, all right, you praise this god, you give it offerings, you'll have more fish. And it just became more and more oversaturated, and everyone just started transforming into these fish people. For the most part, where it's
And when he says fish people, it's not like Ariel and the Little Mermaid. Like, there is one in particular that is actually slightly attractive in the Ariel and the Little Mermaid standard, but this is more like
Ursula.
I was thinking more like the mer people from Cabin in the Woods. Like,
those are creepy. Like,
it was a little bit more like that. As
like
far
these
as the
were
factor.
like people, but much like the whole movie. Like they looked damp. This whole movie just looked like, it felt like if you bought the movie, you could wring out the movie itself.
Absolutely, yeah, no. It's one of those Italian-like looking cities where literally you have buildings, wall side, waterfront.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, you don't have waterfront property as much as you have a dock that connects to your staircases at the end of it. Like, this is a fishing town.
But yeah, that's like this movie starts off really fucking quick too, and it doesn't really stop. Nope. I get because I remember I watched this on YouTube, which is where it's currently streaming.
And Tubi, it's on Tubi as well.
Did I not say Tubi?
You said YouTube.
Tubi, that's what I meant.
It's on Tubi.
Yeah, so this is. But I had to pause it so I could go to the bathroom. I was like, all right, the movie's probably already almost over because of how quick it is, and as we know, movies like that third act is all. Yeah. I was like 30 minutes into the damn movie, and it was like, it's a lot of action for this type of movie, and it doesn't really stop.
Yeah, and for all you Washingtonians watching this has a very Washingtonian feel as far as the dark, wet, somber vibe. It carried that mostly, and it made me feel at home.
Especially if you're from Washington, it feels a lot like some of the Shelton homes.
Ah, yes.
But it took me like 2 tries to watch this movie, just because not because it wasn't interesting. It was just I guess it didn't grab me, and I don't want to say that because of the lack of interest or anything. This movie is fairly interesting. It is very odd.
It's super odd
and stuff.
Like, you got to be wanting the weird in order to watch this one.
That's exactly it. Like, if you're into that tentacle porn or just H.P. Lovecraft, this movie is for you.
It's great.
But oh gosh, like I almost like that's the thing. This movie kind of ends like again almost in that bleak manner. If you're expecting a different outcome, if you're expecting a different like happy ending, like, oh, this is where we're headed. Like, it's not that kind of happy ending. It's a different happy ending that you didn't really plan for.
It's fucked up. I enjoyed it. I mean, but I'm also a fan of nobody survives kind of endings too. So it's hard to say what I feel about this one.
All right, I think this might be kind of like a weird reach, but this the main character, like that at the end of the movie, the whole like twist happens for the most part. Reminds me a lot like Tucker and Dale.
Yeah.
And stuff like where that college kid.
Go back to hell where you belong, freak. Oh shit! Oh shit! Chad, what the fuck, man?
Be calm. It's your delay.
Stop! I'm on fire!
No, don't use that.
Is actually born a redneck,
yeah,
and all that stuff, and he hates rednecks. Like, that's what this kind of. I just ruined the movie for you. I'm sorry, but that's what that the guy kind of reminded me of. Like near the end, is like, oh, screw you guys, I'm not part of this whole group. It's just.
I liked it because it felt like the main character, they wanted it to be Jeffrey Combs so bad. It felt like they had a guy that kind of reminded me of him, as a matter of fact. But they needed somebody that was a little bit younger to hit the same note that Jeffrey Combs did in From Beyond.
You can't be Jeffrey Combs.
You can't.
Only Jeffrey Combs can be Jeffrey Combs.
The great.
He is. Yeah, like every fucking movie I've seen him in. Again, I already said that before, but
it's actually kind of shocking. Like, I mean, I guess I wouldn't have Should have guessed that it was in 2001 because the motherfucker had a laptop. But you know what I mean?
That's kind of like
for some reason I disconnected that.
If you watch the trailers, it feels like
it's from the 80s.
It feels
It's
dated.
got that grainy, dated filming style.
Not to be only 23 years old. It feels like it feels like a early 90s movie.
Even the cover, it looks like something you'd be selecting from an 80s
All of it
film
does.
genre, but it was good nonetheless. Fantastic. H.P. Lovecraft rocks overall.
Again, if you're down for something weird, check out Dagon. Like it is.
Dagon's where it's at.
This little known actor that he had a huge renaissance of horror movies that kind of all came out roughly around the same time. We are talking about the Cage-a-sance.
The Cage-a-sance. One
of his movies,
right.
Color Out of Space, that was directed by, oh gosh, where do I have that written down?
Man,
Joke's on me. It's not written down. I'm on their website right now. By Richard Stanley.
He pumped him out like this one and Mandy, one right after
Mandy,
the other. I think
one,
Mandy was fantastic, and this one killed it too. This one was one of the ones where it felt like Nicolas Cage's acting was a little bit more serious in the role. I feel like Mandy was on par with that too, but when he loses his shit, you see Nicolas Cage getting to be
Nicolas Cage.
who he is the most. Him acting crazy is awesome. In Color Out of Space, it felt like he was able to get there too, but
I feel like this is a movie that they should be showing OLED TVs off on.
Oh yeah,
and so because they always like at Costco or whatnot, when you see like the OLEDs, like they show all these bright, vibrant colors. Like this is that movie where it's just like it is so bright. I mean, it's in the title, it's in the name. This book's the same way, and it again that's the whole thing. You can't show a color that we don't know because it's supposed to be.
And that's what they're trying to do. So they show a shimmering light, and it's where you've seen all of the newer movies. They have that pink, purple ambiance, pink, purple, and red thing going on the cover. That's how they carried this whole fucking movie with that shimmer going on. And the whole movie starts out with a family that likes to be disconnected from the real world, at least a little bit, trying to live off the grid a bit. Has a gigantic meteorite crash into their yard, and that's when things get weird. The water starts getting polluted, the father starts acting differently, and overall the plant life and shit like that changes drastically in the area. And you have all kinds of people noticing it, and some of them are choosing to stay away from it. The family doesn't have a choice, but their local friendly resident, played by Tommy Chong.
I was gonna say like that. I forget that he's in this movie, like because he is like that older, that kind of that crazy guy for the
he's
most
supposed
part.
to be the I drink mushroom tea all day kind of weirdo, right? But
if this movie was like that outcast family, he would have been that the gas station attendant saying, "Don't go to that house." Like he was that one that like he knew what was going. Like he didn't know what was going on, but he was aware of what was going on.
Yeah. But at the same time, if it was any other day, you would have taken his advice with a grain of salt. You'd been like, "All right, crazy high guy." But he was the only one that was spot on through the whole thing. It's once again a movie where stoners triumph.
Again, yes.
In a way.
I honestly kind of forget this movie exists. I do remember liking it. I've only watched it, I think. I had to again watch it twice because I made it almost all the way through, and then I had to go do something and just never went back to it because it was just like it wasn't getting my attention at the time.
Once again,
but
this one
it picks up a lot in like the end of the second act of where things get Lovecraftian.
Yeah, it took a while for this one to feel more like a traditional Lovecraft story, and overall, it wasn't as depressing as the rest of them. But maybe that's
what are you talking about?
Maybe that's just the lighting playing with me. Like I said, I have a huge thing for proper lighting in a movie, and this one was full of beauty. Like it was fun.
Like it is an extremely beautiful movie. Like the colors are beautiful. Like it borderline reminds me of if you've seen the movie Evolution that came out in like I think early 2000s. That's a good one. Like when they actually go underneath where the meteorite is, like where how almost vibrant and kind of like odd that terrestrial land was.
I want to say that the villain in this one wasn't necessarily an alien being
as
much as it was almost like a spirit or a
it
fungus.
was the organism that was on that that rock on the meteorite
Right.
and stuff. So it wasn't really a much of a physical being.
More
It
like
was
an infection.
yes, it was something more along the lines of. I don't remember if that's the name of the original movie, but the Crazies that George Romero
Yeah.
ended up making and stuff, like where it was a pollutants in the water. This was like the pollutants in the ground that actually fed the water and fed the plants, and then it took over. It consumed.
Yeah, it all became one. It was.
I don't see how you can say it was such like like you had to be blinded by that light. Blinded by the
I
light.
really feel like I was. It just didn't feel like. It didn't feel completely hopeless, and I think it's because there were child actors in there, and the child actors didn't get slaughtered off fucking immediately. You know what I mean? So it kept the lightheartedness until.
I guess we don't have to
things
go into
started
it, but what about the
falling.
mom?
All right, now that's the part that keeps fucking standing out to me.
And
Right?
stuff,
Like
'cause,
that's the. It felt like she wasn't the foreground of the action. It felt like mom was issue number 2. This happens,
Yes.
and now mom's the problem. Like, what the fuck's going on?
But I think that's like one of the things. Like that's where you actually get to see what this actually does to humans,
Right.
and stuff.
Well, but with the small cast, it keeps the kill count pretty limited, so it leaves a lot of storyline to do the work. And this one is very, very well driven. I am also a Nick Cage fan, so I can see why I have a bit of favoritism here in this.
There's nothing wrong with Nicolas Cage.
Well,
I think what happened with him recently, but
these-
recently, I mean, like the past 5 years.
Yes, these
is-
2 movies in particular. Well, with Mandy, and not a H.P. Lovecraft story, and this one, those 2 movies in particular are fucking great.
I think those are the movies that ended up just skyrocketing him into the Cage songs. You know, like
Yeah.
what made him big again. Like he was already big like in the 90s and shit, but this was his resurgence.
Yeah.
And stuff with this. I mean, he also came out with another great movie that's
Big.
one of my favorite movies. Like I shouldn't say favorite movies, but one of my favorite movies of I think 2022 was Willy's Wonderland.
Oh, Willy's Wonderland. Yeah, you like that one?
I fucking love that
Now,
movie.
I thought that one was gonna have a little bit more comedic effect in there. I
What are you
liked it. I
talking
liked
about?
it. I liked it a lot, but it still wasn't what I thought it was gonna be.
It's
I thought it was
Nicolas
gonna be
Cage that
like-
doesn't say a damn word.
You're right, and that's what made it pretty fucking great. I just thought it was gonna be more like Chuck E. Cheese Attacks, and it was a little less. I'm not mad at
man,
it.
like,
It just didn't hit the way I thought it was going to. I still
It
loved
hit so freaking perfect for me. Because like that's the thing. Like Nicolas Cage, even though he doesn't say a word, he's still Nicolas Cage. He is still acting. He's still doing his fucking crazy things. I don't know if I could relate with him because like gets locked into a building and he deep cleans everything, and that's all he wants to fucking do. He just wants to do his job, get the fuck out, and done. And these fucking kids get in his damn way. Because all these freaking animatronics, because it's like Five Nights at Freddy's, come to life and try to fuck up his shit. He's just trying to do his damn job and go the fuck home.
Now I gotta clean up this blood. God damn it.
Yeah, like you fucked up my. Like,
But yeah, he's had a huge. Pig was also good too. But
I still need to
Nicolas-
watch Pig.
Pig was a more serious role. It was almost like it kind of reminded me of John Wick. Only this time he lost the pig instead of a dog. And this motherfucker is a prize truffle hunter, so he goes after the son of a bitch that stole him, and he is pissed. So Nicolas Cage got a huge amount of great roles, and he's been nailing them one after the other. And with this one, with Color Out of Space in particular, it had a very good eerie vibe, and it just carried throughout. And Nicolas Cage's acting was not limited at all. And
Honestly, this is one of those movies too. Like, I know some people actually like to watch movies in a well-lit room, you know, whatever. This is a movie where you probably,
Dude,
if you have
if you got
surround
those
sound, turn
lights
the
on the back of
surround
your
sound.
screen,
That turn the surround sound on if you have it. Turn off the lights and watch this in as dark of a room as you can, and the room will brighten up so much.
Yeah.
Like it is like a freaking disco party.
yeah, it's
borderline.
definitely like that. I'm blinded by the lights. It was a good one though.
Next, which is a pretty recent movie, and also another great one, which is Suitable Flesh that came out in 2023.
Suitable Flash. Ooh, once again, we're talking
Currently on
about
Shudder,
highly sexually driven H.P. Lovecraft
Mm-hmm.
storyline. This one,
which is incredibly like gender fluid in this because
Yes.
you have a this movie is currently streaming on Shudder. Like, give it a fucking watch to begin with, because it's a Joel Lynch film, which he does an amazing job making it feel like Stuart Gordon directed this movie.
Yeah.
You also have Barbara Crampton again, like she's produced this movie, acted in it a little bit. You have Heather Graham, which is just amazing in this fucking movie. But yes, it is incredibly sexual.
This one's more about body possession than anything. So the creatures, there's no creatures as much as there is almost a demonic force at play.
Which, just like the synopsis, like this synopsis does not give you any hint on how crazy this movie is. And it's a psychiatrist, Elizabeth Derby, becomes obsessed with helping a young patient who is suffering from extreme personality disorder. However, it soon leads her into occult danger as she tries to escape from a horrific fate.
Yeah, that left it pretty fucking vague, man.
That is like a horrible...
Like, just by what
that's
we've
worse
told
than
you
me
so
describing
far,
a movie.
What we told you so far still doesn't spoil the fucking movie.
No.
Like,
Because
the whole thing had
like, it's a hypersexual, because you have it's based off of the Necronomicon as well, and stuff, like where the spirit is like an elder one possessing the body. Once when that body becomes old and decrepit in ways, it just becomes old. It needs to transfer into other bodies and stuff. And this is one of the movies that actually is really huge on a lot of the H.P. Lovecraft lore, and a lot of the H.P.'s books. Things happen in threes. There are usually like 3 knocks, or there's 3 different transitions. Like there's that's Lovecraft's signature is 3, and that's what this movie kind of is. Like even down to some of the subtleties of just like there was like knocking on the table and stuff, like where it's just like 3 knocks during a lot of these possessions. But you have that elder entity being in an older body and then trying to transfer into a younger body that's a male to a male, and then transfers into a female, and like it realizes like what it feels like to be a female and stuff, and just like is enthralled with the feelings that a female has during sex, like the actual sexual pleasure.
I can't remember. Was it they weren't sharing the body as much as she got thrown into his body?
They transferred bodies. Stuff. So it's like Freaky Friday, but with sex.
Yep, lots of it.
So
very, very strange movie overall, in my opinion. But I feel like it was the most accurately depicted movie from an H.P. Lovecraft writing. So
that's the thing. I did not finish this book either, which the book is not actually titled Suitable Flesh, believe it or not. Like a lot of his books and movies that transition are the same fucking name. The book is The Thing on the Doorstep. Which I want to say this is predominantly like a male-based thing, like where they're transferring from like I guess like a male could possess like a psychokinetic powers or something like that with another male and stuff, saying if only a female brain was as strong and as powerful as a male, that like she would be able to control more and be able to experience more, and like so that's where some of his misogyny kind of comes out in it, like where he
it's really hard to hide that, man. Like I said,
it is like it was a lot of
it's
that.
hard to believe he changed his ways a little bit at the end, but he didn't write like he changed his ways. That's
again, you know, like you said earlier, you have to kind of separate the art from the artist.
Yeah,
but at the same time, like years of being stuck in a certain way, being raised in what really sounds like not a loving or accepting household,
right?
And stuff. So I mean, you know, and again, for the times, you know, the whole male brain, female brain, all that stupid bullshit.
Yeah.
A quick little note too is throughout this movie, quite a few times, Joel Lynch does his whole signature thing that he does like in every one of his fucking movies, is like the lens flares. He does it in his music videos that he does. Like he does it like in all of his movies. It's just, I wanted to point that out at least because I am a pretty decent like Joel Lynch fan. He's like Mayhem is another great fucking movie that's on Shudder as well. So while you're on Shudder watching Suitable Flesh, hop over to Last Drive-In and watch Mayhem on that one.
Yeah,
another highly recommended one. But yeah, this movie like is a lot of fun because there's usually when it comes to like sex in movies, it's usually like two people the same age, or the male is more dominant. Like this one, the female is more dominant when it comes to a lot of these things. You have more so acts of cunnilingus that isn't really big in movies.
Yeah.
Like some of the TV shows, like they're bringing
Funny
it
to
up
bring
like on
that
HBO.
up here and not in the Reanimator, but yeah.
I guess that is kind of true. The whole head giving head scene, yes, in Reanimator.
That's great, but yeah.
But that's the thing. Like that was more a creepy well, I guess
It was 100%
it was more. It was
creepy.
And it wasn't as like sexual or like,
No,
it was a creepy
perverse.
like perverse. That is the word. Where this one, it is all just the sensations of the
attraction,
pleasure
yeah.
of what happens and stuff. Like age doesn't really matter. Like even down to like some of the simple things of Judah Lewis and Jonathan. Oh gosh, his last name Sheck. I'm not going to pronounce his name right. But another thing that Joe Lynch and Barbara Crampton kind of composed with was the love or the split of having a twink and a bear, where Jonathan was actually had his didn't shave his chest, so he was a little bit more hairy, more well built. He was like fucking shredded.
Yeah.
And then you had Judah Lewis, which was a
Bigger.
he was just like a tiny hairless, he was a twink, so you like the whole twink and the bear
String bean
and stuff. So there was no. You follow the whole story through Heather Graham's eyes and stuff. Like it is
And she's
such
the
a fun
psychiatrist.
trip.
She's one of the doctors, both Barbara Crampton and her, both doctors. I think Barbara Crampton's the boss, right?
Yes,
She's the boss.
and that's the thing too. This movie pays like a lot of good homages where Crampton's original character was supposed to be the same name as her character in From Beyond, but they couldn't get the rights for the name because legal reasons. But the institute that they actually do all the psychiatry and all that shit in is the same institution or the same doctor's place in Reanimator. And stuff. So this movie plays so many different, like so many homages to Stuart Gordon's film. So that's on top of Joel Lynch being able to have that eye and like directing the movie.
666 on Benevolent Drive or whatever it is. That's the address that I remember.
Oh, that
constantly happening.
It was always like 666 in the thing. From Beyond, it was Benevolent Drive.
It's same with From Beyond.
Or like on From Beyond, Reanimator was
666. Benevolent Drive.
I don't think it was Benevolent, but it was something like it was still that 666 Drive.
Yeah.
But I want to say that's probably another Stuart Gordon mix.
That's something that they brought up in Lovecraft Country.
Was it now?
Yeah, they brought up that all.
Watch Suitable Flesh. We're jumping into Lovecraft Country.
They brought up that where they were supposed to go was also supposed to be the same address as Herbert West in Reanimator, and that was the 666 Benevolent Drive. And they had to drive all the way the fuck up there to find out what the fuck's going on because Dad's gone missing.
So yeah, this is like one of the things I've never seen the series because I never had HBO. I believe it's HBO, right?
Yeah.
Like I've been wanting to give it a shot. I just haven't bought the DVDs when they came out. Never really subscribed to HBO or Max, what the fuck it's called nowadays. But I do know that it was based off of a graphic novel at first. That is not H.P. Lovecraft, but it's in the name. Like it is inspired.
Yeah, it's inspired by H.P. Lovecraft, and even in the TV show, they reference. This guy is an avid reader, and this is I want to say it's just during the Jim Crow era in the United States. So, black people don't have the best fucking setup going on right now. Getting an education's hard, and this man's father has preached nothing to him about much of anything except the most important thing in life is a proper education. So not only can this man read well, but he is in love with storybooks and shit like that. His favorite author is H.P. Lovecraft. He has a whole bunch of books that are being referenced throughout this story. So when they get caught up in little situations, they're like one of the creatures finally attack. One of the things that he quotes is straight out of Bram Stoker's Dracula, and he's like, "You're saying these things are vampires?" He's like, "Yeah, look, the way they attacked, it was just like it was straight out of the book."
So is it something more along the lines of like I think it's like the movie Inkheart where what you
It's a
read is
lot.
coming to life.
Only the depiction of these characters are Lovecraftian as hell.
All right.
So, and the where they take place and the this is more of a cult based thing, so it keeps the Cthulhu kind of mythos, the whole we sacrifice to the gods thing in hand. So they have that whole vibe going on, and it's hard to say how tied into Lovecraft it is, other than in depiction and the direct reference. It doesn't have so much of, oh, this is what H.P. Lovecraft set up. And it's really hard to say anything about it because after the first season, it ended. It got squashed. They were in the middle. They had the second season written out. They were ready to act, but it got canceled for one of two reasons. One of them was toxic work environment. Can't blame them. If nobody wants to come back, nobody wants to come back. Mm-hmm. But the other one that was stated was that the second season lacked creativity and they didn't have the funding. This show came out in 2020. So during that whole bullshit going on, a lot of shows that were worthwhile got squashed. I love the order, but it got
Game
squashed.
of Thrones ended up.
Fuck Game of Thrones.
Was it Game of Thrones that came out again? Like, or the new season came out?
Yeah.
I think around the same time. That just kind of ended up squashing. I think Max was like, "This movie is not. No one's watching this show.
Yeah,
everyone's watching Game of Thrones.
Well,
this is what's
thing.
bringing in the money."
Everybody that did watch it was pissed. 100% of the viewers that did watch the Lovecraft Country series was mad that it did not continue on. It leaves you on a hell of a cliffhanger. You didn't see it coming. And best of all, it feels like they also rounded up what happened in the graphic novel series.
I guess like one of the unfortunate things too is like
all build up.
Sometimes the first season it takes a while for some of the TV series to actually pick up.
Yeah,
you know, unfortunately it does take about like 2, maybe sometimes 3 seasons, which does not make it a good series. But at the same time, yeah, the company, the distributor, whatever, is thinking like it's not bringing in money. How are we going to invest more money into it? But sometimes some series just need to breathe in order to actually become amazing. Like, not saying that Lovecraft, like I said, I haven't seen it, but I'm assuming that wasn't the issue. Like, where it was good, it just would have been better if given the proper nutrients to actually breathe and actually thrive.
Right. They did a great job at building up each character. The first one you meet is Jonathan Major's character. I'm horrible with the characters' names. He went off to the war because of his father.
Atticus Freeman.
Yes, Atticus Freeman, thank you. And his father went missing. And his father's the reason why he joined the military. He wanted to get away from the band. But he's also now the reason he's coming back. Dad's gone missing. We need to find out what the fuck happened to Dad. And my favorite part of this is the opening scene because he combined the War of the Worlds scenery kind of going on with alien ships attacking and shit, but he also had like Lovecraftian like Cthulhu's with like little chubby Cthulhu's with wings flapping on and shit like that, and a gigantic Cthulhu just stomping on the city and stuff, and it was all a nightmare. And that's what picked me up immediately. And after that, it was a great story build up and it was overall an awesome storyline. It has everything you possibly need to keep entertained. It is very politically driven with the racism and things like that going on, but it's more racism in America and not so much as this author was a racist asshole. So they still kept the racism a part of it overall.
Which sometimes they just need to do that in series. Like they even did that with American Gods and stuff. Like it wasn't like Neil Gaiman is. I've never heard anything about him being racist or anything. That was kind of like some of the drive for American Gods as well. It's just you have these different gods, different beliefs, and you know they're in a way race kind of came into it.
Yeah. So with this, you're keeping the fact that he has a military background in mind. So his survival rate is a little bit higher because he actually does think well under pressure. The uncle that they're traveling with owns a library and has just as much knowledge in all of these books as anything else. So when they're trapped in a room and they're like, he automatically pipes. He's like, this reminds you of the Count of Monte Cristo. And he starts digging around in a wall and finds an opening in the wall. It's like, they're like, at this point, it is like Inkheart. But they kept the horror vibe throughout the whole thing. There's still a lot of other political factors that work into it, but what drove me in was the horror. And the horror is carried throughout all of it. It's
I
just
really do need to give
unfortunate.
this a series to watch.
It's
I'm
deeply unfortunate that they stopped. I can't remember what they were going to name. It was going to be called Lovecraft Country. Oh God, I can't remember what they were gonna. They ended up titling it, but it got dropped either way.
This might be one of the series that I might pick up because it's already done.
Yeah,
you know,
well, yeah, no,
in a bad way. But sometimes that's one thing that's really kind of hard because, you know, trying to pick up a TV series that's still currently going or is many seasons deep. Like it almost sounds like this. That's one of the unfortunate things with this one too is it'll be good, but it leaves you wanting more. So it's kind of hard to even kind of pick it up and start watching.
Right.
But that's what movies are.
Yeah.
Before, it was like every movie got a fucking sequel. Like the end of a movie, that was the end of the season. That was the end of the series.
It's the cash grab going on right now. Is either we're remaking or giving something a sequel that was big and only had one 15, 20 years ago.
And then you have some good originals that make fun of some of the sequels.
Hell
I shouldn't
yeah.
say make fun of the sequels, but you have Abigail.
Yeah.
That came out it was vampire. It should be on the vampire episode that we did. But they make reference to other vampire movies in the books and all that stuff. And I feel like that's how something original should be. Is pay homage, pay love to the originals. But that or just make a reboot in a completely different light. Make it something new where you could change the name of the movie or the TV show. And
bro, that's how I felt about
fine.
Mandy. Mandy felt like it was 100% original to me. It still had a Lovecraft vibe, but it wasn't a Lovecraft story, and it was metal driven the whole fucking way.
Oh yeah, the beast.
But yeah, that's one of the ones that if you're the reason it got canceled, HBO, shame on you, you pieces of shit. Pull your head out of your ass and bring it back up. But if it was toxic work environment. It's all
our fault. We didn't give them enough money. That's all it is. You know, that's why
greedy whores.
Max and WB is shelving all these freaking movies because they don't love us and they don't want to give us what we want. But they know what we want, which is not what we want.
Yeah.
I don't know. What makes sense of it? Someone will. Is there?
H.P. Lovecraft also had inspiration for video games and shit like that. There's so many video games out there. Borderlands 3 had a whole segment that had an H.P. Lovecraft-driven theme where tentacles had overtaken the land and you had to fight these gigantic monsters and shit. But, yeah, it feels like this guy was a huge influence. We'll love him or hate him.
Yeah.
I mean...
Unfortunately,
separate his work from him because it is awesome, and it
hate
has
the
a
man,
place.
not the art.
Yeah, right. Fair enough.
You know, I mean, it is hard to separate some of the things, especially when it hits close to home for some people. But at the same time, though, a good movie's a good movie. A good book's a good book. You know, you could use the excuse oh, it's a Times. Yes, it was a Times. Does it excuse it? Not really, but it's part of history. You know, you should
be shaming somebody for liking the art.
Yeah. You should accept the history for what it is and grow from it, not forget it, not bury it, not destroy it. Accept it, learn from it, and try not to repeat history.
Yep.
You know, I don't know. I guess I got a little bit of the ending note is, even though H.P. Lovecraft and Stuart Gordon their bodies are gone, they're no longer with us, but their spirits will always live on through the books, through the movies. They will forever exist. They will be
carved in stone through their work.
Yeah, they are the gods now. No matter whatever happens, someone's always going to pick up a Lovecraft book. Someone's going to pick up a Stuart Gordon movie. That's H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah.
More than likely. And yeah. So I guess on that note, all we have to say is fuck you, Bridget.
Yeah, you're the reason Lovecraft Country got canceled.
Yeah, it's fucking Bridget's fault, man. What a fucking bitch. Well, I hope you guys have a horrible day, and I hope Bridget has even a worse day. And hopefully you horror problem. Peace out.